Coachella is arguably the biggest in-person celebration of music fandom in the United States. Every year, over 200,000 people attend each of the festival's 2 weekends, with some flocking to see their favorite artists, some just to be a part of something, and others to show that they were able to afford the experience, which can run many of the attendees a price that is somewhere along the 4-digit spectrum. And then, there are the people who don't go to the festival, but post on social media as if they did. In 2023, influencer and musician Lauren Gray posted a viral TikTok talking about the influencers who do the 2-hour drive from Los Angeles to Indio, where Coachella is, just to get an Airbnb, take pictures of their day one outfits, record little get ready with me videos, and then just drive back.
They'll go out to the desert, get like an Airbnb, stay with someone, get their outfits, get their hair, get their makeup, post up Coachella day 1, Coachella day 2, and they don't go to the festival. They don't have wristbands.
They don't even have a ticket to the festival, but why would they want one? To them, the value of Coachella isn't in the performances, or the Ferris wheel, or the $30 chicken sandwiches. The value of Coachella to these people is broadcasting that they were there to their millions of followers on the internet, showing that they were rich enough or important enough to be able to attend, or maybe on a deeper level, signaling that they have some sort of music taste. The concept of people doing something on social media or in real life only to make themselves look a certain way shouldn't be a huge surprise to anyone living in the year 2025. Right now, one of the hottest words on the internet is performative, or as Webster's dictionary would describe it, made or done for show, as if to bolster one's own image or make a positive impression on others. This seeps into all corners of media, from the IG reels about guys reading Sally Rooney books where everybody can see them to attract women, to the "you are not a vibe bro" meme.
Uh-oh, I'm drinking matcha. I would hate for a book girl to come tickle me. No, don't tickle me.
In the film world, it could be people wearing A24 merch, or maybe those people who post the meme letterboxd reviews, where it seems like the point of them watching the movie, if they even watched it at all, was to have a niche viral Twitter post out of the screenshot of their review. Or maybe even just lying about which movies they've watched on Letterboxd to create some sort of film buff persona. Performative behavior can transcend the human body and go corporate. Think about the companies that posted black screens in June 2020 at the height of the George Floyd protests, only to change little, if anything, about their approach to equity in their corporate structure. Or companies who would sponsor pride parades every year in June and then stop doing it when it was no longer politically savvy to do so. And recently, a new archetype has emerged on social media: the performative male. The final boss form of this is a TikTok boy with the white tank top and chains and a boxy cut tee over his baggy, or maybe in 2025 flared denim, listening to Beabadoobie, Pink Panthers, or Claro. They come with several optional add-on accessories: the mustache, the Hello Kitty, Miffy, or Labubu keychains, the tote bag, and the most popular seller, the matcha latte.
Uh-oh, I'm drinking matcha. I would hate for a book girl to come tickle me. No, don't tickle me.
We see these guys pop up on the TikTok or the Instagram For You pages. And for every 5 of those guys really doing it, there's someone making fun of them too. Recently, a line cook in Bushwick, which is probably like the ground zero of performative male behavior, has gone viral to the point where people are talking about this in major news outlets. And of course, I'm not the first person to talk about this on YouTube. There's a YouTuber named Soyo Think I'm Stupid, who did a great video covering the phenomenon in general that I'm gonna post in the description. But the point of this video isn't to parody these dudes or poke fun at them, although we definitely will do that along the way. I'm more interested in the music listening aspect of it, and the idea of music as a performative accessory, or listening to music being some sort of performative act. So along the way, we're going to answer some questions like, what does it really mean to be performative in the first place? Is it always a bad thing to be performative? In 2025, is music an art form or an accessory? Are those two things mutually exclusive? Is there a value in broadcasting the things that we listen to? Or is it all just an excuse to add to their vibe, their swag, their... Come on, man, just say the word. Like, I know what you're going to say, bro. What word, bro? This is so obviously an ad segue, like it's like literally the company's name. Like you did this like 2 weeks ago, bro. Like we saw it. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Just go ahead. Just press play. There, Aura. This video is sponsored by Aura. I don't know about you, but I get bombarded with emails, calls, and texts from people trying to sell me things. We get accustomed to stuff like this. But if you know me from watching my channel, you know I love trying to understand why things happen. There's a whole industry of people called data brokers who collect the personal information of people like you or I and then sell it so others can bombard us with ads, emails, texts, and propositions. Aura will help you remove your personal information from data brokers and people's search sites that can sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more. Aura monitors your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points, like the dark web and public court records, to alert you about potential identity theft. You'll get notified in minutes when your credit file has been compromised, like if someone tries to open credit cards or loans in your name. This is just scratching the surface of what you can get with Aura. There's Aura VPN, which protects your internet connection with military-grade encryption. There's antivirus services to secure your Android, PC, or Mac from malware, including viruses, spyware, trojans, ransomware, and more. There's a password manager to store your online passwords securely and conveniently across apps. And there's a US-based support team available around the clock if anything goes wrong. You can get all of this in one app at one affordable price. I'm not leaving myself or my family vulnerable to data breaches or brokers. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/HADJI to try 2 weeks for free. That should be enough time for Aura to determine if any of your personal information has been exposed. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring this video. Let's get back into it. It might feel like humans being performative is something like born out of our phones and our constant connectivity to each other, but that's not really the truth. People have been putting on an act for a long, long time. We can go all the way back to medieval times and think about the things that kings would do in order to appear powerful, intelligent, and royal to their subjects. Clothing in the Middle Ages was stratified by your social status. As Margaret Scott wrote in her book Fashion in the Middle Ages, clothing was a vital part of making visible the social hierarchy, from royalty to the humblest peasant. Royalty and members of the nobility had to wear clothing that indicated their rank. King Edward III, the English monarch during the mid-1300s, was one of the more particular examples. As the historian Gemma Holman wrote, whenever he needed to show the strength of the English crown, expensive pieces of clothing were brought out. You can put that sentence right into 2025 Google Translate. Whenever he felt the need to show his sensitive side, labubus and matcha lattes were brought out. Leaders continue to do things like this in modern times as well. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president of the United States during World War II, was often in a wheelchair in private due to his polio, but would be very careful to not let the American public see him in one, because it could be interpreted as weak. There was a little bit more at stake in these situations than posting Juna by Claro to your story because the cute barista from your coffee shop finally followed you back, but in some ways, it's the same act. People performing an action in a specific way with the goal of affecting how somebody else sees them. Performativity existed in times before social media, but you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't think that social media made the problem a whole lot worse. And being performative on the internet has been a thing for as long as there's been an internet. Back around the turn of the 2010s, popular fads like planking, where people would take pictures of themselves lying flat in strange places, were visceral examples of people doing something in real life with the specific goal of it being posted online. I found a pretty fascinating blog post from around then describing the behavior as performative. This author had no idea what was about to happen in the next decade. Looking back on these early memes sometimes feels like reading hieroglyphics off of an ancient wall. In the early stages of the internet, memes proliferated so much slower and lasted a lot longer than they do today. That might be a topic for another video, and I mean, let me know if you want to see me talk about stuff like that. Even in the earlier stages of the internet, people were finding ways to lie about their music tastes so that they can look a certain way. Vice ran an article in 2018 called Stories About All the Bands People Pretended to Like for an Ex, which is a pretty self-explanatory headline. And two of the examples show off like a more primitive version of being a performative music listener on the internet. One wanted to impress the friends of the guy she was already dating, so she used Facebook to figure out that one of her boyfriend's friends liked Ben Folds, and pretended she did too, to the point where when she wasn't even dating the guy anymore, she went to a Ben Folds concert with her ex's friend. I feel like the most interesting part of that is like, why is she still going to the concert with the ex's friend and keeping up the act? I don't know. It's really interesting. Like, sounds like it might have been a Coldplay concert. Am I right?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Oh my God, that joke would have hit like 3 weeks ago. Another example involves a website called Last.fm, where you can sign up and then connect it to whatever you use to listen to music. And then it keeps track of how many plays you have of each song. It calls them a Scrabble. Just throws them onto your profile. Been around since 2002, the relatively early days of the internet, but it has a loyal fan base that uses it to this day. Another person in the Vice article, Simran, said that they stalked the Last FM account of someone they started dating and saw they were into the band The OCs, so they astroturfed their own Last FM account, making it look like they were huge fans of The OCs by leaving the songs on loop on their computer. And then by the end of the relationship, told Vice they would have spent close to $1,000 on records, tapes, t-shirts, and shows. The funny thing is, outside of the live shows, I never listened to a The OCs song in full, ever. Last FM is perhaps the original way to be a performative music listener online. It's something that persists to this day. Go on the subreddit and you see users asking about fake scrobbling, or the act of like using bots or leaving your computer on overnight to make it look like you listened to a song like 10 billion times. People on the subreddit say that some of the most common reasons why someone would be fake scrobbling are to become the top listener of that artist, or to try to get that artist's songs onto the Last FM charts, or people who want their total scrobble number to hit 1 million or some other sort of milestone. This is a super niche example of performative music listening that is contained to an audience of a website that, while it's very popular, is much smaller than TikTok or Instagram or whatever. But still, we see people shaping their supposed music tastes around what they want other people to think about them. And there are people doing this exact same behavior in a slightly more modern way as well. Spotify Wrapped is essentially a curated Last FM style yearly holiday for Spotify users. And for as long as it's existed, people have been lying about theirs. There are always people posting fake ones, to be funny, but somewhere in there is a tiny percentage of people who genuinely try to get away with lying about what's in their Spotify Wrapped. One New Jersey congressman named Josh Gottheimer was caught photoshopping his Spotify Wrapped to put songs by New Jersey legend Bruce Springsteen in all 5 slots. It got covered by sources as far and wide as the New York Times and Anthony Fantano. His real one got posted later, and while The Boss was still his #1 artist, his top songs also included stuff like Fiend, which he said was because of his kids. We need to scour the Ken Carson tour footage and see if we can find a picture of Josh's head. Either way, it's almost like a requirement for a New Jersey politician to express their love for The Boss. So this is certainly a performative act, and it might be closer to like what FDR and the Old English Kings were doing than what someone faking their Last FM scrobbles is doing. But if he wants the Gen Z vote, his kids should have told him to put the new king in New Jersey, McGee, in there instead. Well, pretending to like one specific artist so that one specific boy or girl or whoever will text you back is a much more localized form of performativity, and fake Last FM scrobbling or even Spotify Wrapped photoshopping is a bit more niche. The performative male final boss is a lot bigger and more widespread, so let's get into that. It's ironic, or fitting, or something, I'm not really sure, that one of the best videos explaining the phenomenon of the performative male is a sponsored post paid for by Abercrombie & Fitch. Within 5 seconds, the TikToker Jack Inanen has a Claro vinyl, a record player, copies of Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar, Joan Didion's The White Album, and J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, a tote bag, digital camera, and a crop button down. The matcha hits his hand, and the old school wired Apple headphones hit his ears around the 6-second mark. He goes on to journal, picnic, sift through the gender studies section of the bookstore, eat a croissant, drink some orange wine, and overall spends a good half of the video looking to see if anybody else is looking at him. We're gonna be mostly talking about music in this video, but all of these other objects and places help us place the archetypical performative man. The reason why people are mad about this type of guy, what their critics are saying about them, is that all of this is just being done for the female gaze. It's the idea that a man is doing these things intentionally so that he looks softer, more feminine, or more tasteful, to signify to women that they might be intelligent, safe, and trustworthy, whether they actually are or not. One of the reasons why it's such a big thing in today's world is because it's basically the yang to the yin of the alpha male podcast bro Andrew Tate type of guy. The kind of people who think that like dominating women and everybody around them is just their way to get rich and famous. In some ways, being performative on the internet is like an act of courtship. A callback to our animalistic instinct. From a certain lens, clipping that labubu to your belt buckle is almost like a male peacock showing off his feathers. And the big difference between this and like stalking someone's Last FM to make it look like you like the same artist as them is that these guys aren't doing it for one girl or one guy or whoever. To their detractors, they're broadcasting to the world that they are this one specific type of man, expected to get dating interest from like a certain type of person, or even just beyond the dating world, receiving validation from their peers in the form of Instagram likes and clout. And to their detractors, the problem isn't that they're sensitive guys, or even that they're choosing to display that to the world, it's that their detractors don't believe that they really are these people. In the minds of their haters, when they get home, they take off the pearl necklace, they pour out the rest of the matcha latte into the sink, and they crack open a Happy Dad and watch the Nelk Boys interview Benjamin Netanyahu. The always excellent cultural commentator and TikToker John Luke does a great job in his skits explaining this concept. The fake nice guy, of course, has existed for a long time, but the specific brand of it, the fake feminist, has been floating around in pop culture discourse for about a decade now. Some of the most prescient critiques of some of the world's most popular male writers, like Haruki Murakami, is that they have a reputation of writing less than three-dimensional female characters in their books. And then there are the guys who stand out because in their works, they make these female characters who have depth. And that's great and all, but then it turns out in real life, they don't hold themselves to the same standard with real non-fictional women. In 2017, the New York Times ran an article called Faux Male Feminists Draw Ire in Hollywood. They focused on Joss Whedon, the creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, someone who would get a lot of credit as a guy who created these strong female characters. But then he got called out by his then wife as a serial cheater. More recently, Neil Gaiman, an author who in the past was often cited as a good male writer of a female character, was accused of sexual assault in an explosive Vulture report. These are examples of famous people, of course, but it's an experience that a lot of people can relate to in their personal lives. Letting someone in who pretended to be one type of person only to turn out that they were pretty different from that. And it's not something that only men do, but there is a particular flavor of a guy who pretends to be sensitive early on in a relationship, maybe even in a friendship, but then turns out to not really be that guy deep down. This is a real thing, and so it's understandable for people who date men to be wary of guys who try to intentionally kind of peacock that image of themselves. But if we're here to talk about specifically the music aspect of the performative male, then we need to have a different conversation. For as funny as the performative male memes are, I think it's a dangerous precedent to set for a lot of young men to learn, especially that it's like some sort of bad thing to be listening to female artists, or that any guy who listens to female artists is like lying. No matter what kind of identity you have, I think it's a good thing to be listening to music made by people who aren't checking all the same boxes as you. Like, just for me, of the artists named in this video, I've had periods where I listen to a lot of Clairo, a lot of Beabadoobee, a lot of the Marias. All three of them are in my Spotify Rap 2019. No Photoshop, I'm not Josh. They make good music and it's not in a performative way. My girl doesn't listen to any of that shit. Putting it into young men's heads that it's a bad thing or a performative thing to like Clairo's music or Beabadoobee's music or whoever's music, Sade's music, to me is a bad idea. I think one of the most important skills that anybody can learn is the ability to put themselves in someone else's shoes and to see from someone else's perspective. It's the same reason why, like, for someone who's in their 20s now, it's like when I was in school, there was this big push for us to start reading books that were like not just written by white men. And it's not like to say there's anything wrong with reading a book written by a white man. It's more just like you will understand the world better and all the different people in the world if you read books written by people who have different perspectives. And I think the same thing applies to musicians and music. Listening to a wide variety of musicians has taught me so much. And I would want others to have that same experience. Not just to get told like, put that Clairo down and pick up that Future, like listen to both of them. One thing that does need to get emphasized here is that you need to be normal as a male fan of a female artist. Clairo was on Twitter clapping back at the people making fun of the hypothetical performative male Clairo listener, but then also clapping back at the guy who was like, thanks for defending your male fans. She had already gone on social media last year to ask for men to like chill out at her shows. Portland was fun. Can the guys at my shows stop yelling at me? To be clear, it's fine that men enjoy my music. You don't have to be embarrassed that you like my music, but when you come to my shows, at least be respectful of me and other people in the audience. Thank you. Beabadoobee, meanwhile, found herself in some drama after people kept making these videos comparing her to NBA Youngboy, and B got a lot of backlash for this because she replied at first without like watching the videos and understanding that they were like silly memes. And so she was lashing out in her comments at the guys, like commenting weird things. And I think a lot of the people on the outside, they were like, it's just an NBA Youngboy meme. But it turned out, as we saw in like later videos from her, this was more of like a straw that breaks the camel's back kind of situation. She went on to detail, the type of crazy harassment that she gets on the internet all the time. And I do think this is one of those like everyone involved could use a little less screen time situations, but she makes a very, very valid point about how crazy it must be to be like a female artist on the internet. There are so many weird comments that artists will get, whether they're from men who are actual fans of their music or not. And the male fan to the female artist thing is not the only weird fan-artist relationship that exists out there. I mean, literally the word stan comes from Eminem and a male fan. Like Selena's Killer was a female fan of Selena. There were preteen girls who perhaps had unhealthy obsessions with Justin Bieber, NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys, depending on what age they were a preteen girl at. But we should know that the crazy fans who make things weird are usually a very small percentage of the fan base. And I think the same thing can be said for male Clairo fans, male Beabadoobie fans. Like, most of them are probably really normal. There's a whole thread on the Clairo subreddit of guys being like, any other male fans here? It's hard to say because it's the internet, but most of these responses seem to be from like well-adjusted, normal guys who are just like, I don't want to be the weird guy at the show. But I also think when we're talking about performative music listening, we're jumping the gun by assuming that the people who post Clairo or post Beabadoobie are fans of their music or have even listened to it in the first place. To some, music is just an accessory. It's like a labubu or a matcha latte. People share songs to their stories or use a sound on TikTok just because it'll get them perceived in a certain way. In 2025, we should be well aware that using a sound on TikTok doesn't mean you've ever streamed or listened to that song in the first place. It could just be based on what's trending on the app, or they just needed a sound for their Get Ready With Me video, and they've literally never looked up any of these artists on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever. Picking a TikTok sound, posting a song to your story, inherently a performative act. It's also something that existed before TikTok and before Instagram. Real unks like me will remember setting a MySpace song so that when someone clicked on your MySpace, it played automatically. I remember I had Frankie Jade, Manny Fresh, That Girl, boom, 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 boom. Or if you were an AIM user, you could have like a clip of a song that automatically plays when you log in or when you send a message. I also had a thing that like automatically set my status on AIM to like whatever song I was listening to on iTunes. But honestly, posting anything on a social media page is an inherently performative act. Almost anyone who does it is being some level of performative, me included. Your identity on social media is something that is created entirely by you, most likely either broadcasting your ideals or advertising something. Even the people who go out of their way to be raw or unfiltered are to some level being performative in doing that. Nobody put a gun to their head and told them they had to post that video of them crying. They're posting it to intentionally come off as regular or normal, which honestly might be the most performative act that we've described in this video. But being performative at the end of the day is just a part of being human. After all, we've been doing it for thousands of years. We live in a society, iPhone picture of the Joker, bottom text. Not everyone being performative is being insidious or evil in doing so. We perform every day in our relationships, in our jobs, and we all have different versions of ourselves. And even on the internet, for some people, it might be kind of a fake it till you make it situation, where you post things that are like the ideal version of what you want to be so that you can aspire to be that person. It could be this twisted 2025 version of trying to better yourself. So of course, we should call out things that are misleading or actually harmful, but we can also crack some harmless jokes along the way. And when it comes to music, performative listenership, of course, is tacky and corny, but it might actually lead some young men to check out some really good music that they might not have listened to otherwise. As this one user in the Clairo subreddit said, being so surprised by Sling encouraged me to open up a bit more. Decided to check out some Lorde and Charlie XCX. There's gotta be some sort of masculinity complex in there. I'm trying to take care of it. This poster, Farmer John, could be anywhere right now. Maybe he went to the Sling tour and he met a girl. They hit it off. And now they're 3 years in listening to Juno while they cook together. Or maybe he's posting 20 picture-long Instagram dumps and love-bombing girls on Hinge. But today, I'm gonna choose it's the former. If you like videos on music and culture like this, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. I post a video every week. If you wanna see them early, go to my Instagram, HADJI Gaviota, throw me a follow, join my broadcast channel. I post all my videos in that channel one day early for free. Also, I'm on tour right now as we speak. This video drops the same day as the Kansas City show. Got a couple more shows in the Midwest after that, and then I'm back in New York the week after. Can't wait to see you guys there. Let me know what you want me to cover next. My group Elmjack dropping a project really soon. Peace.